Welcome back to Frankly Speaking here on News Talk 1230 and 1450 and 106.9 on the FM dial. And my guest this morning, Jessi Colter. It's such an honor to talk with you.
Well, it's an honor to talk with you. I love New York and Corning. If I remember right, maybe where Dwayne Eddy is from that area.
Yep, that's where he was born. My first radio show ever, I tried to petition for a sign welcoming into Corning saying that he was from here, but nothing yet. No sign yet. Well, I loved your book, An Outlaw and a Lady. Why did you decide to write the book now?
It actually came about, I don't doubt that there's some sort of supernatural imprint to this, because I had been approached 10 years ago, and writers and publishers and so forth, and I began thinking about it. But everything I did didn't work. It didn't make me happy.
Yeah.
So I laid it down, and David Ritz, who's an accomplished musical personality, writer, doing everybody from Marvin Gaye to Aretha Franklin to Ray Charles to B.B. King, marvelous writer, approached me during a concert that Willie and I partnered on celebrating Waylon Jennings' music, which just was aired on CMT.
Yeah.
And David said to me, I'd like to write your story. He had just finished Willie's. Along the line of your spiritual journey. And I'm not even sure how he found out, my life at all. So he must have done some research to come to that point. And it just went bingo. I knew that this was the thing I should do. And I began working with him, and it just fell into place. His eye being on my mother, his eye being on my songs, which were the very things that located me emotionally. To go back into time is not easy. Yeah. But it all worked out great.
And that's what drew me into the book, and I'm paraphrasing, but at the beginning when you talk about it being really about your faith, not even necessarily an autobiography, but an autobiography of your faith. I thought that was really amazing, and the stories of the up and downs of your faith. Right.
Well, David saw it as, a major challenge to everything. Mm-hmm. I mean, my heritage, and in writing it, as things worked out, I remembered something that Rose Kennedy said in a documentary that was done of her husband, her sons, and all this. At the very end of it, they said to her, "What could you not live without? Could you, or what could you have changed?" Or and she says, "I couldn't live without my faith." And so, as things worked out, even though I left my faith for many years, it has been my sustaining quality, because life is a maze.
Yeah.
And we better have a few guidelines, I think.
Right. And like you said in the book, it's, you might have left the faith, but God didn't leave you.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. No, he didn't. And I'm a prayer answered, I'm a prayer answered because those years, and I feel for the young today that are, walking in ways and paths that remind me of some of the darkness that I pursued. And there again, the 20s are a passage where you are beginning to make your circle away,
Sure.
And God help you. A lot of people are doing it now. A lot of the kids are doing it now in their teens,
Mm-hmm.
And so I hope that it speaks to the young and to those that are wondering, you need to find your lodestar and you need to find your direction. And it's a dangerous thing. Sure. You can go too far and never recover, and we see that all the time.
Jessi Colter is our guest this morning, and it's interesting that you found your way back with such a simple phrase. And I don't want to give too much of the book away, but there's always God. It seems such like almost like a simple sentence that meant the world.
Right. It almost was, it just came out of I don't know where in me, because I realized that everything else I'd pursued, and the different disciplines, the different philosophies, wasn't working for what I needed in my life and my being. And I realized it wasn't working. And, well, there's always God. Like, it was almost a forgotten,
Yeah.
And I didn't realize for the first year, when I couldn't stand up with the Bible or anything, things would come to me. And I knew it was of the divine. It wasn't voices. It wasn't weird things.
Right.
It was very gentle, and it was the Holy Spirit being gracious with me. And it did come back to me after a while. The scripture that says faith comes by hearing, I was taught to hear these things, and you don't even know what you remember or don't remember as you approach life, and certainly in your 20s. And I remember the word comes by hearing, faith comes by hearing by the Word of God. And I thought, well, I can't stand to open the Bible. I was so far away, and I thought, well, I'll just go to where I can hear them talking about it. And I did. First church I went to was Two Rivers Baptist. I just recently passed by there as I was in Nashville doing, things of the Hall of Fame about the book. And I just thought, that was the beginning, of then pursuing what, and I love the way Bob Dylan says things. And he said something, and I can't quote the song. It's on his Slow Train Coming, I believe, album. And he says, strengthen the things that remain. And as you approach 30, maybe it's different today. I don't know. For me, it was 30. God, what have I been doing? I got to get myself together.
Yeah.
That was one of the hardest stages I ever hit. Because what have I been doing? So, the answers begin coming simply. That's the work of the Spirit. It's so simple and so gentle. It was with me. Some people have a revelation overnight. With me, it was a slow walk and more light, and it continues.
Yeah, and it's interesting with your mother being such a huge influence in your faith that in the book, she was hands off might not be the right word, but she knew that you were walking down that path that you needed to walk down.
I know, but at the same time, don't think she wasn't praying hours and hours every day.
Sure.
Don't think she was having, people join with her and talking to God about it. Mm-hmm. It was nothing that pleased her, and nothing that she really would have allowed. But her intuitive and her spiritual knowledge, because she had it, she was born with it, and then she gave all of her gifts over to God, and she could discern. God gave her discernment, and I'm sure He spoke to her as much as she could stand about where I was, and it was always and also talking to her, and it's a magic and a marvelous work that goes on in the universe, at God's hand. And when you're called back, you're going to find your way. You're going to find your way. Right. And she had trust and had faith and operated in all that, And as things worked out, my doing the Miriam album, I think must have been a prayer of hers answered, because it was a public confession. I didn't know it.
Right.
I didn't know these things. That's what we don't know. Our spirit knows things that our mind and emotions can't begin to understand,
Mm-hmm. Jessi Colter is our guest this morning on Frankly Speaking, and it seems so personal because after reading this book, this all seems so personal. But when you talk about Waylon's faith at the end, it was almost like in a book, in the climax of a movie that we were all waiting for and hoping that it would be there, and then right there towards the end, there it was.
I know, and I'm much more private as a writer. I'm not a public speaker. I can sit down to the piano and sing. And express myself. I'm not the speaker. And things that mean so much are not easy for me to share. And I'm thinking I wasn't because I was trying to hold it as a prize of my own, but as things worked out, I realized that even his own children, although I had told them, they just needed to be reminded of his faith. And as I said, he was very spiritual in many ways, but not in the organized way, perhaps of the church. But the fact, and he, it just has tenderized me, because I've had to be listening to the audio version of this, just approving it, and it's beautiful. And the woman who did it, I gave permission to do that with the book company. And as I listen to it again, and I hear this part, I remember when Waylon told several different people who were very kind, and Dulcie Zacchaeus and a couple others that wanted to just urge him to, just say it. He said, "I want Jessi." I remember him saying, "I want Jessi," and they told me, "I want Jessi to do this." So in his heart, that's a kind of loyalty he had to me, which just makes me. These things are very tender for me to open up about.
I'm sure.
And the fact that he said that and made it happen, that's just the way he was.
Wow.
That's the man he was. And so I'm proud to talk about his character. I'm proud to talk about his celebrative nature that came forth in his music that the people loved and still love. I mean, there's almost 3 million on his site.
Wow.
And that's just regulars, and you can't get him off satellite or classic country radio, and all the artists still look to him. And he's just a man amongst men that should, I hope, always be remembered.
Did you ever think when you went to JD's that night that your life would change as much as it would?
I didn't have a clue.
No, I wouldn't
not
think
a
so.
clue. I didn't have any sort of plans. When I did see him ravaged later, after that, when I saw him on TV on the Buck Owens show, and I thought, that man needs me. Now, why I said that, I don't know. I had no idea the brand of man he was, and I don't know what I thought that meant, but I just kind of followed that path, as you do in life. It was the path I was supposed to take, and you never know when you follow a path. You may have ideas, but, it's just like hiking in the woods. What's around the corner?
Yeah. Yeah. Jessi Colter is our guest this morning. We're talking about our new book, An Outlaw and a Lady. One of the things we learned in the book is that you never really, and this is different from today's stars, that you never really want to be a star. It wasn't about cultivating your career. It was really about living your life, right?
Right. I knew I would always be in music. I mean, I was drawn to it.
Yeah.
I was drawn to music. I mean, I was exercising it. I was using it. It was my daily thing that I would play the piano. And then I'd sing in assembly. It was there. It was there. It was a gift, and I didn't have designs on it. I don't know if that had to do with my heritage and with how I was raised. Both my mother and my father, it was a search, a quest. It was, it just wasn't so man-made.
Yeah.
She was of the spirit, he was of the earth, and they both pursued, and I don't know. There was always adventure. There was always something new. You didn't know exactly what was going to happen next. I mean, when you're in meetings where the spirit is moving, and I didn't know. You just don't know what your parents are about. I don't care how great they are.
Yeah.
You just think you're your own person, and you are, but you're so much your mother and your father. The truth is, and not these horrible parents that abuse and hurt their children young. I'm glad God said it in the Word that it'll be better for a man to have an anchor around his neck and sink to the depths of the sea than to hurt one of his little ones. There's going to be great judgment for that, I feel, But anyway, when you have wonderful parents, and often people who don't, then God puts people in their lives to parent them or to govern them. I've seen it happen. But, so no, I wasn't, that song I sang young, look down that lonesome road, and before you travel on, Yeah. And I wasn't about, I just thought I was, I was okay. I just thought I was okay. And here's an interesting path.
Yeah.
It was very different than anything I'd been raised or known about. And Texans are different. Texans are a country themselves. I wrote, and Waylon loved it. He used it, just because I'm not from Texas, don't think I'm from overseas. Because Texans think they're a whole nother government. And they are. I love them.
Yeah.
And Waylon was very Texan.
Oh,
and so it was all new and exciting, and all in all, I wouldn't trade it for anything, and have wonderful memories, and miss him every day. And yet, I feel like it's part of what he left me to do was do everything I can, to keep the flame burning. So I'm a keeper, and and meanwhile, I have a whole new life, and the children are wonderful in my life. The challenges that come along, I do marvelous events today. And the book and the album coming, and very near the same time. I just feel like God had to put it together. Frankly speaking, And if you lean back, and look for that, it comes. And believe for it. There's times all you have is your belief.
Mm-hmm. And the album's amazing. We have that too. So we're talking about an outlaw and a lady, the new book, and now the new CD. You're very busy, aren't you?
Well, I've just had time to go back and reread one of my favorite books for the first time, and it's wonderful. Hang out with my dog a little, but now there's another challenge.
Yeah.
So,
well,
it never ends, and I'll be working this year.
Oh, good.
On certainly doing anything I can to let people know about this.
Sure. And now with the book, we got the new album, the Psalms, but the book kind of piqued my interest. Now with the internet, is it possible to find Rock and Roll Lullaby?
I'm going to talk to Sony, because I believe they've bought all of Chip's Moments tapes.
Okay.
And if it's in good shape, they could put that out, and I'll be addressing that.
Oh, good.
And I do know that I believe some people have acquired it on eBay. I have 2 or 3 copies myself.
Oh, that's funny.
It's a beautiful album.
Yeah.
I mean, it is beautiful, and it's something I do need to lean on Sony after this has a certain amount of time, to say, let's pull those tapes out and see if everything's good.
Good.
It's a trip.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
It's a trip. It's very, that Memphis sound. It's, I don't even know how to explain it. It's mellow but very dramatic sound. And you know what? What you might do is contact Sony, and I'll also mention, because I'll be talking with them in the next weeks. They're getting ready to kind of, talk about Waylon's 80th year. I says, Waylon would not like talking about a birthday. If you want to talk about 50 years in the business or something, that'd work.
Yeah.
He wouldn't like that.
No.
He just wouldn't like it. But I heard some ideas they had. So if you contact Sony asking, and I will mention it as well, where might they attain any? I don't know that they're holding the album as such. They may have tapes, but I don't know if Chips gave them any actual albums,
Yeah.
And I should pursue that as well.
Absolutely.
I mean, to see if Phil Waldron, I don't even know if he's alive, had any in the company. But anyway, Sony may know if there's any way to find those other than an old record store. And I don't know how many got out. I don't know how they would have got out unless Phil Waldron dropped them somewhere,
Yeah. Well, I'll definitely reach out to
you
some.
could have these. Yeah. But, Shooter is great. I may talk to BCR. Shooter's putting out the vinyl on the Psalms, which is going to be beautiful. He's touring. I just said, son, we need our copies. I would think it'd be out by now. The vinyl that goes with the record, the Psalms. Mm-hmm. And he may be able to produce the vinyl on this. That's all I have is the vinyl.
Oh, that'd be great, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah, that'd be really neat.
I don't know if you could do that, if you could take it off of vinyl. I don't know.
I don't know.
But Sony has it. So, that's something we're going to do this year.
Yeah.
We're going to do that.
Good.
Thanks for mentioning it.
Well, you're welcome. I'm glad. When I see it out in the stores, I'll say, hey, I had a piece in that. I had a piece of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Jessi Colter is our guest this morning. Now, where is the best place, just before we go, where's the best place to buy the book, An Outlaw and a Lady, and the new album, The Psalms?
Well, of course, you can go to Jessi Colter Facebook. JessiBooks.com is one thing. Amazon does everything. The Psalms, I don't know why I'm pulling up a blank right now, except Amazon, Sony, Jessi Colter, Facebook gives you a lot of. They just plastered it, everywhere. But Amazon has everything.
Oh, great. Thanks so much for being on the show. Congratulations with these great 2 projects. I enjoy the book, like I said from the beginning, and I love the album. So thanks so much for being on the show. It really means a lot to me.
Well, thank you. I've enjoyed talking to you so much. You've made my day.
Oh, well, great. Well, thank you. Bye.
Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.